The Messerschmitt Me-323 Gigant, or Giant, was a German military transport aircraft of World War II. It was a powered variant of the Me-321 military glider and was the largest land-based transport aircraft to fly during the war. Its maximum payload was around 12 tons, and the typical loads were one heavy field howitzer accompanied by its 11-ton half-truck artillery tractor, two 4-ton trucks, an 88mm flak gun, 52 drums of fuel, or 130 men. The Me-323 entered service in the Mediterranean theater in November of 1942 and played a vital role in the German military build-up in Tunisia. Operation Torch was an Allied invasion of French North Africa between the 8th and the 16th of November 1942. The Allies planned an Anglo-American invasion of French North Africa, the territories of Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, nominally in the hands of Vichy French government. With British forces advancing from Egypt, this would eventually allow the Allies to carry out a pincer operation against the Axis forces in North Africa. On the 9th of November, the Axis forces started to build up in French Tunisia, unopposed by the local French forces. However, the Axis situation in the air, on land, and at sea was gradually deteriorating. Axis supply ships had suffered many losses, which were two Allied aircraft. So, a few weeks after the Stalingrad catastrophe, it was again the responsibility of the Luftwaffe to flew the much-needed ammunition and fuel to the Axis armies, this time to North Africa. The German Air Force reorganized its forces, and Hans Seidemann was appointed to lead Fliegerkorps Tunis. He had the equivalent of 12 groups and maintained around 300 fighters. Generalmajor or Major General Ulrich Buchholz was appointed Lufttransportführer Mittelmeer or Air Transport Leader Mediterranean Sea on the 15th of January 1943. His forces had to make 2 missions a day. The formations would be 80 to 120 aircraft strong. Operations were to be flown at only 50 meters, arriving around noon to operate during the Allied lunch period. The units, operating mostly Junkers Ju-52s, brought in 90 tons daily, and the large Messerschmitt Me-323s brought some 30 tons with their smaller numbers. The operational method usually involved escort fighters picking up the formation en route. Only 1 fighter for every 5 transports was made available owing to shortages. The end of the German airlifts at Stalingrad and in the Kuban allowed the number of Axis transport aircraft to reach 185 by March of 1943. By the beginning of April, this number rose to 426. However, despite the growing number of the German aircraft, these transport missions were very dangerous. On the 18th of April 1943, a large formation of 30 Junkers Ju-52s was reported by Allied pilots at an altitude of only 1,000 feet, flying northeast on a return flight. As the Allied fighters began their attacks, the crews fired their machine guns out of the Junkers windows in desperation to fend off the attack. In the air battle that followed, 6 P-40s and the Spitfire were shot down, but the Americans claimed 146 victories. Actual German losses were 24 Junkers Ju-52s and 9 Bf-109s shot down at sea, and 35 crashed upon the shore during the attack. Some Italian fighters may also have been shot down. Along with the 24 Junkers Ju-52s destroyed, another 35 were damaged and managed to reach crash land all along the Sicilian coastline. The battle became known as the Palm Sunday Massacre. A few days later, on the 22nd of April, a formation of 27 fully loaded Me-323s was being escorted across the Sicilian Straits by fighters of the Jagdgeschwader or Fighter Wing 27 when it was intercepted by 7 Allied squadrons equipped with Supermarine Spitfires and Curtiss P-40 Kitty Hawks. Each Gigant was carrying about 12 metric tons of fuel or ammunition. About halfway between Sicily and Tunisia, the Me-323s separated from the Junkers Ju-52 formation and, contrary to orders, set a course for Cape Bon. Why the group commander ordered this course change will never be known. Most of the escort fighters which had taken off from Sicily stayed with the Junkers Ju-52s and did not go after the Me-323s until the fighters from Tunis had reached the Junkers. This splitting of the fighter force meant that the Giganten had only 36 escorts instead of the planned 104. The Allied fighters estimated the size of the Me-323 formation at 20 aircraft instead of the actual 14. Once attacked, the Me-323s took evasive action and the wedge-shaped formation disintegrated. The huge transports had little chance to even reaching the African coast. Usually able to sustain a great deal of battle damage, on this day the Giganten were carrying volatile cargoes and most caught fire and exploded after a few hits. Though they put off a stiff resistance, claiming to shooting down 5 to 7 enemy fighters, the Me-323s were shot down one after another until the last Gigant crashed into the sea in flames. The escort fighters from Tunis were still with the Junkers Ju-52s and were too far away to intervene. The fighters from the Jagdgeschwader 27 did manage to tangle with some of the Allied planes. After arriving Tunis, a fighter pilot informed the German command of the air battle. Major Gustav Damm, the wing commander, became furious and demanded to know why the air-sea rescue had not been alerted by radio. The belated rescue, some Fieseler Storks dropping one-man life rafts, most of which missed their targets, was hampered by heavy seas and rain. Some men were picked up by motor torpedo boats with the storks circling overhead to guide the boats to the men in the water. The last survivors were picked up at about 6 p.m. They spent 8 hours in the water. All the 14 transports with 700 drums of fuel were shut down. Of the 140 crew members, the initial tally was 2 killed, 113 missing, including 6 officers, 4 badly injured, and 14 with less injuries. In the end, however, it was found that only 19 of the 138 men involved had survived the tragedy. Gruppen Commander Major Werner Stephan was among the dead, and he was officially honored for his heroic actions. In transport officer circles, it was believed that Major Stephan had arbitrarily changed course to reach Tunis more quickly and thus led the Giganten to their destruction. Had he lived, he would probably have been required to answer for his actions before the court-martial. From November 1942 to April 1943, the Me-323 aircraft transported 14,000 metric tons of equipment to North Africa in approximately 1,200 sorties. Among the items delivered, 309 trucks, 51 medium prime movers, 209 guns, 324 light guns, and 96 armored personnel carriers and self-propelled guns. In general, the aerial operation had a considerable effect on Axis supply. The stores reaching Axis units dwindled, and the Axis armies and air units remaining in Tunisia gradually ran out of fuel, ammunition, and other supplies. Having lost most of its air bases, the Luftwaffe evacuated most of its units from North Africa. But early May 1943, only the Italian fighter units and one German group remained as the Axis held on to a narrow strip of African coastline near Tunis. The Allied air superiority was so overwhelming that Luftwaffe personnel climbed into fighter fuselages or squeezed into the cockpits of the fighters alongside the pilot rather than risk flying in transport aircraft. Most ground crew and pilots attempted to escape this way. The last transport missions were flown on the 4th of May 1943, in which 117 tons of fuel and ammunition were brought in. Later, some supply drops were attempted, but most of the remaining signals, flak, transport, and administrative staff left were captured when the campaign ended on the 13th of May 1943. A total of 198 Me-323s were built before the production ceased in April of 1944. Despite their limited numbers, the Me-323s saw extensive use until the end of the war. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and to make sure you don't miss my future work, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you, and see you in the next video.